What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As you can tell, we have a very special edition of DodgerHeads today. Dave Hobrecht, Ned Colletti joining us to talk a little bit about an incredible book that is out, the all-time Dodgers art book. Guys, thanks for doing this. Let me do a little bit of a bio on you guys. Dave, if you're in Southern California, you may be familiar with world-renowned sports artist known for black and white art pieces like the massive picture of Vin Scully that is currently behind him. If you're watching this on YouTube, Ned, of course, former Dodgers general manager as well. Guys, I'll just start by saying this, Dave. I was telling you right before we hopped on. This book's incredible. I love the way that it looks. I love the way that it feels in your hand. I love that it's not just an art book; it's a Dodgers book and an art book, all mixed in. So, well done. I have tons of questions, Dave. I'll start with you.
Sure.
How does Dave Hobrecht and Ned Colletti come together to make this book about the Dodgers with such incredible art in it?
It's actually a pretty fun story. So, I had a booth. So I have a gallery in Laguna Beach, and I also had a booth at a local festival that's just down the street for Laguna Beach locals, and it's called the Sawdust Festival. And Ned and I think his family, they were staying in Newport, and they visited Laguna, and they came over and went to the Sawdust Festival. I wasn't there, but he saw my art, and he was then coming around and walking downtown where my gallery is and saw my art, and then kind of walked in. I wasn't there. A guy that worked for me, Vince, he was there and talked to Ned, and Ned had a concept of an idea of a painting that he wanted done. So what we did was I met him. We worked on this painting, and I'll let Ned explain that painting. Worked on a painting and just had a good time working together. I'm a baseball nut. I love, listening to his stories. The guy's got like a million stories. He's been in baseball, 40 plus years. So it just ended up, we became friends, and I had this thing in my brain I wanted to do. And at the end of our painting, at the end of our time, he was asking me what I was doing next. I was going to switch to football. And he's like, nah, don't switch to football. Let's stay in baseball. And then I just said, hey, I got an idea. And I threw it at him thinking, there's no way. And he was like, I'm interested, because he was coming off The Big Chair, his other book, which is a great book. And we decided to do it. So that's basically how it started.
Yeah. And I should, go ahead, Ned.
Well, it was obviously, it was Dave's idea. And, knowing his work and having so much respect for how he captures the work and how he's always looking for the kind of things that I look for, the little idiosyncrasies in a painting. And believe me, I'm not an artist. I know very little about it, except I know when something looks good to me, and his stuff is always in that category. But we were able to really kind of put different things in the pictures that kind of signify and kind of add to just the painting of the individual. And he came to me with the idea, and I said, well, I know enough scouts. I know enough people who've watched the game for 40, 50, 60 years that I can get a pretty good canvas of who's who and then who should be on the all-time Dodger team. Not an easy task, but we're able to pull it off.
Yeah, again, this book is called The All-Time Dodgers Art Book. By the way, it's available at Hobrecht.com, Amazon, National Baseball Hall of Fame's online store, Walmart, among others. There are 18 essays, more than 30 player reviews, 80 original pieces of art from Dave. And Ned, you kind of just touched on where I wanted to go next. At the end of this book, which I'm sure there are lots of people like me that they pick up a book like this and like, oh man, somebody put together a 26-man roster of the Dodgers all time. Just flip straight to the back. Like, I got to see who's on this list. You explained your process as being based on career length as a Dodger, coupled with overall production and contribution, postseason accomplishment, in some cases, services to the community and country. It's a 26-man roster, although it's not 13 pitchers and 13 hitters, but we'll give you a break on that, all things considered here. I imagine some of these names were fairly easy, like you didn't even have to think too hard or get too much feedback. But there were also some could go either way types. So process-wise, Ned, what was sort of the most fun and what was the hardest part about putting this list together?
Well, the hardest part was getting down to 26.
I bet.
And Dave can tell you how many times, like the roster used to be 25 not too long ago. And as soon as MLB increased it to 26, I went, great.
You should have done September 1st, 28-man rosters, Ned. Yes, you could have given yourself a little bit of a break.
I tried, but the artist
he did try, but I'm like, that's enough for one painting.
For months I tried. We got to expand it. And he says, no, we got to stay with the limit. So we did. And there's There's some players that as time goes on, they will be added to it. And unless I can talk David and expanding it to 28 or 30, somebody will probably have to leave. But time will tell how that all goes. But it was fun to do. But like at the end of spring training, in real time, in real life, it's always tough to get down from 29 to 28, 27, now 26. And this was no easier.
Yeah.
This was no easier.
I'm not going to spoil who's on the list, but I will ask one follow-up question to that, Ned. Was there one or two names in particular that didn't make the 26-man roster that sort of like haunt your mind at night sometimes?
Yeah, there are, and there were a couple that we added late.
Okay.
As things and because this project had been in the works for a few years, a couple of years at least, and so we started with one place and ended up in another because things had changed. And so, yeah, there's a couple that were in the original and then got edged out at the end because different things had occurred. But but they're in, even those that were edged out at the end, they're in there in some way, shape, or form. There's probably 75 to 100 players inside this book, one way or the other.
Yeah, I did notice that. And I appreciated that it felt like you were able to kind of do both things. I imagine the hardest part, Ned, was how do you balance guys that are on the team right now and kind of the production up until the point I was asking Dave just before that this book was finished before Ohtani signed with the Dodgers. But I'm thinking of a guy like Mookie Betts, who has already, only been with the Dodgers a handful of years, has been incredible for all of those years, helped win a World Series. Like, was he kind of the hardest present day player to keep off of this list?
Well, there's no doubt he'll be on this team at some point in time. What I think we needed to pay respect to all the eras, going back to Dazzy Vance, who none of us ever saw play, but we know the story and we know the history. And I think when you do that and then you set a standard for how long somebody needs to have been a Dodger, I think that was an argument that we could live with. That it could be 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, a few months in Shohei's case. They will, not that they're waiting for their picture to come out in this book, but their time will come.
Yeah, Dave, coming back to you, walk me through the process. So Ned's starting to put together this list. There's chapters that are like all-time pitchers, all-time first baseman, all-time infielders, outfielders, that sort of a thing. So when you get the list, I know Ned's got a process of scouts and people he's talking to. Were you involved at all in the who's on the list, or did you just get sort of handed a list and like, okay, now I've got to find a way to put all these guys in a piece of art together?
Yeah. So, I didn't want to be a part of that. That's Ned's thing. And that was so fun because we don't get that on a couple of them we talked about, but you don't get a GM's perspective off.
Yeah.
And that was the whole concept of my book was like, I want to hear how he put teams together, And so he's writing and it takes a while. He put a lot of research, a lot of effort, into each one of the chapters. So he would actually send chapter by chapter. So when he would send a chapter over, first thing is I would devour it. Loved his writing, loved the insight, little interviews, little different, details in there. And then that would get my mind going on how I would, kind of put it together. For example, like the all-time catchers, he picked Campy as 1 and Piazza as number 2, right? And so I liked Yeager, so I snuck him in there. And then it was, you want to do a scene, right? You can't just do all catchers. So then that was like more of a, pitchers, catchers report scene. So I put pitchers in there. And I got Kersh talking to Newcomb and Sandy's over here and Burley Grimes is on the side. And so it's a fun thing to put together with Ned's ideas and his players to my art. I wanted no part of picking though, because that's not my thing. No way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this might be a very dumb question. So I ask a lot of those on this show from time to time. I imagine there are some guys that weren't exactly the easiest to find pictures of what they looked like. I mean, is that fair, Dave? Like when we're talking about going back as far back as we're going, like how was that complicated at any point?
It is, and all these all the paintings I did are not based off images. They're made up. So when you're putting a person together, you got to have them facing the right way and it's got to be a certain body type and whatnot. So there's not, access to that. So yeah, you have to kind of look around and find different things and make things up. So it is hard, but I wanted it to be like each piece to be a similar, of course, same style but different look. So yeah, there was a lot of research in that as well, like visually to get these going, because we did all sorts of stuff from paintings at Ebbitt's, paintings at the Coliseum up into Dodger Stadium.
So the one that I've got on the screen right now for folks
Yeah.
watching on YouTube is my personal favorite, the 2020 World Series championship, the only one that has happened post my birth. So the greatest Dodgers moment of my lifetime. So Dave, can you just walk us through, like, obviously to your point, there's not a picture that has all of the guys in these places doing these celebrations at one time. So how does the process work for you from start to finish on a piece like this?
This one was stressful. So I worked on this one with Fanatics, and they wanted to release it right when the Dodgers won. Now, they offered me the option to paint both teams just so I'd get the deal, whoever won. I'm like, nah, that's all right. We're taking this. So I only painted the Dodgers, but I had to make the whole scene up. So, Globe Life Field. Of course, I wanted Kersh right in the middle for his first World Series. I put him in there. And if you look who's going to hug him, Turner's in there, who actually got yanked during that game because of COVID.
Yeah, so there's no mask in this picture. What's up with that, Dave?
I snuck one. Look at Dave Roberts. He's wearing one under the chin.
That's
I snuck one in there just for placement.
I love it.
But yeah, so I just put it together, kind of what I wanted to do. All the guys were going to be signing this in print series, so just kind of made it up, kind of like classic Mookie, classic Belly kind of look, and just tried to do the best I could,
I love it. Well, it's so, like, I've become so interested in this world where sports and art mix. And, for a long time it was getting pictures of famous moments, but now you've got incredible artists like yourself that are making these pieces. And again, looking at the picture of Vin behind you, these are not small. I mean, when you open a book, you can have the illusion that these are like little postcard sized things that you're making. But also, I was reading about the process. I mean, if there's a mistake, there's no going back because of the medium that you use. Is that right?
Yeah. So you start really light, because if you lay down the darks, you can't bring them up, right? So you got to lay down the lights first and layer it and kind of build up your darks. So yeah, when doing it, it's challenging, which is fun. But you got to be slow. You got to really be careful and go slow at the end. And there are large, like this one's 40 by 60. The pitcher's one that you had up on was an 8-footer. So we have larger images. I like to kind of make them bigger just for I can get more details. That one's the 8-footer. And the Vinny behind me, like if you look at the paper, I hand wrote all my favorite calls of Vinny on that paper. And Ned, working with Ned on details of paintings, what was so great is he gave me all these like small like changes, small ads, and with his brain and knowledge and my painting ability, we're able to like add fun things inside the paintings as well. So they mean something as well.
Love it. So there's some Easter eggs for Dodgers fans. When they open up this book and go look in the artwork, they'll find some stuff. Ned, I want to come back to you, and I apologize. I want to ask you a shift away from the book just for one question, because I'm sitting with the Dodgers general manager in front of like a 2-week stretch where all anybody on our channel wants to talk about is how in the world the current Dodgers general manager is going to fit about 40 different guys onto the 26-man active roster. So I'm not going to ask you to talk specific names, but can you just take us maybe into where your mind would be at if you were Brandon Gomes, Andrew Friedman, as you've got guys like Chris Taylor coming back from the injured list. You've kind of got 29 guys for 26 spots, and how he might be thinking and sort of trying to navigate moments like this?
Well, you're trying to get to September 1 too.
Exactly.
Because then you're going to be able to add a couple more players. The book should have come out after September 1st so I could add 2 more players to that roster. But you try to work that as part of it. If somebody's coming off the IL and it's the 28th, 27th, 29th, you're going to try and hold them off till the 1st.
Yeah.
Because that'll give you a little bit more flexibility. And you have to be cognizant of waivers and who can be moved up and down and things like that. So it's a lot. You'd rather have these type of choices than bringing up people that aren't really going to be able to help you. So you'd rather have too many rather than too few. Too few is not a good place to be. Too many you can kind of figure out. And and people do get hurt too in the month of September. So you do have some flexibility to it. I gotta go back to the book on one thing. As we were looking at the team picture, I don't know if Dave remembers this. We were looking at the team picture, and he had one player standing next to another, And the one player was actually almost the same size in real life as the teammate he was standing next to, I think. And he had him one size versus the other size. I said, you can't do that. You know, this guy's going to have to be as tall as the guy next to him or within an inch of the height, you know. So there was a little jockeying with that. But really, it's a phenomenal book.
I love it. Well, Ned, let me close with this question for you and then one more for Dave. But of all the parts of being involved in this book, what would you say was your favorite? Was it a particular essay that was really meaningful to you? Was it a memory that you got to talk about? Or was it the process of just building the team as a whole?
That's a great question. I think anything that involves Jackie Robinson is special to me.
Yeah.
I think he's an iconic human being, American. So many firsts were Jackie Robinson. So anything we wrote about Jackie, I think was special. Any research we were able to do in people who I knew who knew him, like Don Newcomb, were very helpful in Nuke's lifetime, explaining a lot of things to me about Jackie, including one of the paintings you had up earlier of the painting, which is entitled Grace, where Nuke told me that right before Dr. King's assassination, Nuke and Campy and Dr. King and Jackie would have dinner from time to time, and that this was, you know, a scene that was made up, but this actually occurred, so that we were able to take a private moment with no baseball uniforms, no baseballs or bats or stadiums in the picture, just four great men saying a prayer before a meal and talking about social issues that needed to be changed, and that's what they did. Jackie, Dr. King used to tell Jackie and Nuke and Roy that they were as instrumental in racial change as anybody in the country because of what they did and the platform that they had. So that stuff probably means the most to me.
I love it. I love it. Well, Dave, what about you? Was there a piece in this book that sort of stands out to you in your memory?
Yeah, that Grace was big, and then the all-time second base, of course, was Jackie. And a couple of things happened with the book that were amazing. Is that one? Grace is actually a permanent display at the Negro Leagues Museum in Kansas City, and then the Jackie Robinson Museum has that Jackie piece, the all-time second base, at the Jackie Robinson Museum in Lower Manhattan. So those two museums asking us to come into their home is pretty special. But, doing this with Ned was my favorite, listening to the stories, just about different things like the Gibby home run and this and that, and all the places he's been in baseball. I just had a good time as a baseball fan working with Ned. The paintings were actually, it's a dream job. I get to paint and create a book about the Dodgers with Ned. So the whole process to me was fantastic. I enjoyed every painting. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, folks, I mean it when I say, and I was telling Dave, that the whole presentation, like you can tell an artist thought through all of the details because this book feels significant when you hold it in your hands. It's not some flimsy paperback that kind of just was, feels mass produced. It comes in a beautiful box, the way it's packaged, everything about it. So Dave, remind folks again one more time where the best places for people to go out and find this might be, or any of your prints, anything like that.
Yeah, you could. Thank you. I appreciate that. We could go, of course, to Hobrecht.com. The alltime.com is where you could buy the book and grab one there. Barnes & Noble, you can hit them. Of course, I would love for you to go to the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, and grab the book through them. So, yeah, any of those spots would be outstanding to take a look and check it out.
Love it. And then you're selling prints. If people see a piece of art that they like in the book, a lot of these are available for prints as prints on your website. Is that right?
Some of them are. Some of them aren't yet. But we have a handful that are available, and we're working on getting the rest of them to be able to get printed. But right now, you got a good handful of some cool ones. So check that out on thealltime.com. I appreciate you having us.
SoCal people, where can SoCal people find your gallery?
Oh, SoCal, come over. We're in Laguna Beach, right on PCH. Again, it's charcoal and pastel. It's all sports in here, not just Dodgers, although Dodgers are my favorite. We have all sports, all teams, and you can come over and visit me at the gallery.
I love it. Ned, anything?
You'll be there for a while. You'll be looking around for a long time.
Thanks, Ned.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, again, thank you so much, folks. Check out the All-Time Dodgers art book. We'll put the link to some of those places in the description where you can check out Dave's work as well as find a spot to buy this book. That is Dave Hobrecht and Ned Colletti. Thank you again. My name is Jeff Spiegel. We appreciate everybody joining us here on Dodger Heads. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, go Dodgers.
Nice.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.